Good evening. It started as a dispute over cattle and ended with 3 people dead. A North Queensland court has heard from a survivor of that horror day, telling the jury how he ran, fell and hid as his family was gunned down around him.
Ross Tyce forced to relive a horror day, the first to give evidence against the man accused of trying to kill him and murdering his mother, stepfather and brother outside a cattle property in the North Queensland town of Bogie. 63-year-old grazier Darryl Young was a neighbour. Ross Tyce told the court his family arranged to meet at his front gate where they were accused of stealing calves. Darryl Young allegedly told them, "I'll end this once and for all," then walked to his car just casually and pulled out a gun. Ross Tyce says his stepfather was shot first in the face, then he was shot in the stomach. "I turned around and started running. I fell down 5-6 times. I just wanted to get out of there." As he took cover behind long grass waiting, he heard 2 more gunshots. "I was telling myself on the way back, I know they're going to be dead. Try not to look." But he did see his brother. There was a bullet hole in his head. Then his mother. She was shot in the head through the window of a car, the ignition still running. The family's only survivor got away in a ute before flagging down help, retracing his steps 4 years later. Darryl Young has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of murder and 1 of attempted murder. The trial continues in Townsville. Amanda Abate, 7 News.
The Reserve Bank may have kept interest rates on hold, but it still delivered a blow to homeowners. It forecast inflation will remain high until the end of next year, meaning mortgage repayments will continue to ravage family budget for the next 18 months.
Trolleys full of relief.
The luxuries that we might have had last year are slipping away, but it is what it is.
You know, the petrol prices, power, everything else keeps going up and up.
Today, one thing remained steady.
There it is, as predicted. Rates are on hold.
The cash rate unchanged at 4.35%. Concerns, though, inflation is still too high and won't be back in the RBA's target range until late next year.
The board will raise interest rates further if that is what is required to bring inflation down in a timely way.
Inflation has now moderated for 3 months in a row, but it is still higher than we'd like. There's still a lot of uncertainty going forward.
Uncertainty around oil, a tight labour market, 3 rate hikes and policy changes cooling a housing market, heating up this house.
Who argued that interest rates were too low?
The member for Goldstein will leave the chamber.
Kicked out before putting the boot in.
The Albanese government's plan has continued to be to stoke inflation, to tax inflation, to then spend inflation.
One of the big 4 revising its forecast made just 2 months ago. ANZ taking a knife to house prices, now predicting deeper declines closer to 15%. Sydney leading the slump, down 14.5% over this year and next. Melbourne almost 13%. More modest drops for Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, with a recovery not expected until 2028.
It looks scary when you just look at your own house and its value dropping by itself, but you've got to put it in the context of the broader market.
The board didn't discuss a rate cut. We're told not to expect one this year. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
She looks like anyone's grandmother, hardly the face you'd expect behind an act of vandalism. But in a Petrie train car park, an elderly woman is accused of keying a Tesla. It happened after she'd finished work and she was still wearing a distinctive uniform.
Nothing about her body language gives it away until this elderly woman decides to leave a mark, metal meeting paint deliberately.
I'm just astounded that someone would just, out of the blue, scratch someone's car.
Owner Lindsay Hay says she doesn't know the woman and they never crossed paths in the car park.
I think everyone wants to know just why. I have no reason why they would do that.
Missing her by minutes, Lindsay didn't discover the damage until the next day during her routine review of the car's cameras.
Teslas have got probably the best car security system built in from factory. It's way more likely that you're going to get caught.
It happened after Saturday night's Broncos-Dolphins showdown. The alleged culprit had just finished her shift ushering footy fans out of Suncorp Stadium, still in uniform when she did this at a suburban train station. From futuristic status symbol to a target for vandals, experts say what happened here could be a symptom of Tesla's declining reputation. They've become a lightning rod for anger and resentment against Tesla's trillionaire boss.
Tesla could remind you of Elon Musk. Tesla could be a political symbol. Tesla could be a social symbol.
Lindsay says as bad as it looked on camera, the damage could have been a lot worse.
I'm hoping it will just buff out.
The woman responsible faces the possibility of being sacked from her job and charged by police.
I would really like her just to take ownership of her actions.
Michael Hammond, 7 News.
7 News can reveal a global climate summit held in Fiji will be paid for by Australian taxpayers. Our government has agreed to foot the entire bill, coughing up tens of millions of dollars, even though major world leaders aren't likely to turn up.
A pre-COP meeting in Fiji, and Australian taxpayers are copping the bill.
Chris Bowen is spending over $20 million taxpayers' money planning and broadcasting his own inauguration.
The Energy Minister, co-president for negotiations for COP31 in Turkey, committing Australian taxpayers to picking up the full tab for planning, running and broadcasting the climate change meeting in October, because host country Fiji can't afford it.
I mean, Chris Bowen has serious questions to answer here.
Oz tender documents obtained by 7 News revealing taxpayers are being quietly billed $17.2 million for event management and another $2 million for broadcasting services so the meeting can be seen around the world.
And this is just his ego way out of control at the expense of people suffering energy hardship in Australia.
Well, it's a really significant event and we're making that investment because of how important it is to our future.
Taxpayers have forked out another $2 million to reserve several Fijian resort hotels, though much of that is expected to be recovered when attendees pay for their own rooms. The $20 million, just a slice of the $150 million taxpayers will be billed in total to pay for Chris Bowen's role. A sensible investment, says the government, in supporting our Pacific neighbours.
Our relationships with the countries of our region is fundamental to the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific.
Billed as a critical meeting for the Pacific, Mr Bowen has invited world leaders including US President Donald Trump, China's Xi Jinping, France's Emmanuel Macron, Japan's Sanai Takaichi and new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham. So far, not one is coming.
It's embarrassing every which way you look.
The coalition won't miss an opportunity to pull Australia down.
Copping it over COP.
Live to political editor Mark Riley. Mark, the government says this is value for money. Is it?
Well, Sarah, $150 million is a lot of money to spend on curtain raisers for a global conference you're not even hosting, so taxpayers are right to demand they get a lot of value for that money. The Pacific has long been regarded as the front line of the climate challenge, so it makes sense to bring leaders here. But with so much going on in the world, with wars, natural disasters, cost of living crunches in their own countries, it seems most, if not all, the big-name leaders don't see the value in attending at all. And unless that changes in coming weeks, Chris Bowen will be left defending a Fijian flop. Max?
Mark Riley in Canberra. A powerful earthquake has rocked Colombia, killing at least 132 people, with many more feared trapped under mountains of rubble. The epicentre of the magnitude 7.4 quake was near San Jose del Palma, on the western side of the country, 240 kilometres from the capital, Bogotá. Australians have been caught up in the chaos and a state of emergency has been declared.
Panic and chaos in Western Colombia as people search for safety in the streets, buildings cracking and eventually giving way. Homes, shops, livelihoods overpowered as the earth beneath shakes. Colombians clinging to each other, helpless as a historic cathedral crumbles.
The Gothic cathedral, which is, I think, the largest in South America, has collapsed.
Australian tourist Andrew Eckel was among those who fled their buildings, surviving the 2 minutes of terror, but traumatised by what he saw.
Those houses are just built into the mountainside, and unfortunately I just saw some of them completely disappear into the valleys.
It hit just after 7:30 on Monday morning local time, the most powerful earthquake to rock the country in a decade. In Pereira, the city's concrete university library proving no match for the force of nature. While travellers inside the international airport hold on to beams or shelter under tables. People frantically scrambling, running for their lives. Some didn't make it. Those who did make it out are now starting to dig, using just their hands or any tools they can find, searching for signs of life. From their president...
You are not alone. Colombia has a president who cares about the people and who will do everything in his power to help them in the most difficult moments.
Time is now critical as crews face a mountain of rubble in their search for survivors. Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Tonight, millions of Queenslanders will sit down for about 30 minutes and complete the census. The federal government has promised personal information will be kept safe. The national survey builds a bigger picture of who we are and what we'll need next.
Opening a letter with 66 questions. Mother of two, Deborah Balhatchett from Nerang, has been waiting to answer them.
I'm also got an international student, so I couldn't fill the form in early. I needed to wait to know how their name is even spelt.
Tonight, her household speaks 2 languages, a small snapshot of the Sunshine State that's becoming more diverse but busier.
On the Gold Coast, we're far bigger than last census time.
In 2021, Queensland's population was nearly 5.2 million, up from 4.7 million in 2016. And experts say the influx isn't over.
Logan, as well as areas west of Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast as well. These are all areas that have experienced a lot of growth in the last 5 years.
And with growth comes pressure on housing, roads, hospitals and schools. New campuses in Springfield, Caboolture West, Burpengary East and Greater Flagstone are dependent on population data, something this census will reveal.
We need this information to help plan schools and better transport systems.
For more than a century, the survey has tracked how we've changed, firstly on paper, now online.
Where there's less reliable address information, we have been dropping off paper census forms.
At ski fields, even cruise ships travelling to the Great Barrier Reef. But this retirement village in Townsville missed out. Now residents are worried about getting fined.
People were starting to panic because we hadn't received our paperwork.
If people can't get to do the census today, that's okay.
If you'd rather do it in person, it's not too late to request a paper form. Help is available at pop-up hubs across the state or over the phone.
We will come and follow up if they haven't participated.
I actually find it pretty cool that we're all got to do the same thing around the same time.
We'll have to wait for the results due in June next year. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Well, this year's Ekka crowds are shaping up to be some of the biggest on record. Jade Richards is down in the main arena. Jade, what's planned for People's Day?
That chest rumbling roar that only comes from a V8 Holden Ute is back on the main arena track. The precision driving team, pioneered by Lloyd Robertson, was born at the Ekka 61 years ago. Today it was reimagined by stuntman Gary Baxter.
It's a tribute, so we're not trying to reinvent it, just to remind them of the good old days.
It is still just as thrilling, especially from the passenger seat. The stunts require pinpoint accuracy, guts, but mostly trust between drivers. Long gone are the days, though, of flying Commodores.
The modern day Commodore particularly is designed to go round corners, flat and fast. McPherson strut suspension is not going to like one little bit going over jumps.
Nowadays, the gravity-defying stunts are left to these guys. The Aussie FMX riders have returned, and they're louder and wilder than ever, launching their bikes 20 metres into the air.
It's a pretty awesome feeling to be upside down and just relax and have a look around it. Unless you've done one, you can't really explain it.
David the Bullet Smith is one of the few people who does understand that feeling. Day 4 and his human cannonball still has the same effect.
Amazing, it blew my mind. It was like a one in a lifetime.
What do you think?
I never thought I would see that in my life.
Did you think he was going to miss the net?
Kinda, I was so scared.
The Marvel Circus sideshow is somehow even more daring, featuring a mind-bending contortionist and stomach-churning sword swallower. I don't know what you said.
Delicious.
Oh my goodness. Go and watch if you dare. Jade Richards, 7 News.